And Pat, I mean, you explained in the introductions that you founded this patient advocacy group back in the mid-90s. Since then, of course, that as Theresa's mentioned, that our understanding of sort of what's going on in genetics is much better at that point. So when you look at what's going on in the orphan disease space, how excited are you sort of the changes that are taking place?
Well, I think in the rare disease space we're really pleased, right? I think from the early 80s when advocacy first began in rare disease and when there was the move on by National Organization of Rare Disease, Abby Myers and others to say to governments and industry, please look at rare disease because this is a huge unmet need. And then in the 90s, people like myself would create organizations around a disease that was very specific. And that was based on certainly a personal interest, but also a base of knowledge that existed in Duchenne. The gene was discovered in '86, and the protein product in '87. CF followed that. And I think there was this sort of understanding on the advocacy community that we have a certain amount of information on these conditions, and so is it useful to build on that and what we know and try to expand it. And then as this evolved and as we became an advocacy movement and began seeding academic projects and later small biotech projects, we really were able to take ownership of the genetics of this disease and the protein products and some of the pathways, and then began linking these pathways to more common pathways and saying that, perhaps we could consider rare disease as all diseases in the end based on ever increasing information. So I think, I personally am thrilled with this emphasis on rare disease. I think this is a huge unmet need, and really extending lives or improving outcomes by fractions of time and space would be an amazing impact on these lives. So I'm really pleased with the change.
I mean, it's interesting that, so the whole concept of collaboration is something that's already sort of, come up in the discussion. And I just looking at it, there are the different stakeholders. You mentioned about the fact that patient advocacy groups have been very, very active in the early days. Of the stakeholders, who do we actually think is sort of best placed to sort of catalyze the interest in orphan diseases in the first place? Is it the patient groups? Is it academic groups or the biotechs? I'm just trying to sort of think, where do we sort of see the drive, coming from as we move forward?
Well, if I can give the Prosensa example, as Pat was saying, the first couple of years of Prosensa's existence, we were funded predominantly by patient organizations. So the company which came forth out of academic research, we concluded an agreement with an academic center called Leiden University Medical Center. Then we had a collaboration with patient associations helping to get this technology out there, and then finally we entered into a partnership with a big pharma company, GSK. So all those three elements, patient organizations, of course physicians as well, specialistic physicians, big pharma, academia, I strongly believe it's the combination, it's the partnership model which will work best in rare diseases.
But the fact that you had to have those dealings with the patient advocacy groups in the first place, was that because at that time they were the only people who were prepared to actually put some serious money into the research?
Absolutely, partly that was the part, but also they were the most knowledgeable ones. Patients are, in the rare disease space, patients are extremely knowledgeable about the disease, about outcome parameters, about the challenges we're facing, and it would be absolutely stupid not to talk to them and with them about how to develop potential treatments in that area.
I think you're right. I mean, this is all about, what worries me sometimes when I hear the discussions that we've forgotten this is about an individual who deserves and needs a change in their life so that they can live longer, better lives. So I think starting there and keeping your focus on the patient advocacy